This is Eat Sleep Anime, the only show that makes you feel like the main character. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dice, joined by the farmer that Raditz killed in Dragon Ball Z, Derek Daniel. How's it going, Derek?
I'm good, man. So excited to do our last Eat Sleep Anime of our inaugural year of this show.
I know, man. I'm excited because we just had a content meeting. We talked about Eat Sleep a lot. So I am super excited to jump in and see what next year has to offer. Welcome everybody watching over on our Patreon. But guys, we hope you're doing awesome. I think one of my favorite things of the show, Derek, is the intro that I can like come up with, the weird things to say.
Exactly.
Weird things to say.
Well, and hopefully next year we can do some variety in the intro, like how we talked about, but it's okay. It's okay.
Something happened to the headphones. I don't know what happened there.
Well, the people at home can hear me, so they're going to keep you keep you honest.
I don't know about that, Derek. I don't know about that. Guys, we hope that you're doing awesome. This is Eat Sleep Anime episode 4, the final episode of 2024. Thank you to all of our awesome patrons that went over and supported us over on patreon.com/NerdCave. You've made this show possible throughout the year, and we are excited for 2025, but we've got to finish 2024 up. We will announce some stuff at the end of the show that we got planned for next year. But I am excited, Derek, because this episode, we're talking about a little show that came out this year.
Yeah.
Called DanDaDan.
Yeah.
Derek, how many times do you think I actually listened to the intro?
You probably heard it once. Like you always give I feel like you listen to the intros at least once. And by that I mean once, like not even all the way through. I feel like you watch like maybe the first 15 to 20 seconds and then it's like skip.
Yeah, that's actually right. The 15 seconds is about right.
Yeah.
Because one, spoilers. I know it's a banger because I've heard it on like TikTok and like different places, which the group that did this one did last month's intro as well. They did the Mashal intro. Yeah, Mashley intro. So good on them. They're crushing it over there. But DanDaDan season 1, we are reviewing that, and we also did that over on Fable. So anyone that wants to join us on Fable, y'all can go join and give us your episode by episode thought, which I really enjoy getting to talk to people and kind of like keep my thoughts throughout the whole season and everything.
Right.
So, Derek.
Yeah.
DanDaDan is a weird show.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Like it is like it has such potential, right? Like when it gets down to the nitty-gritty and it actually tells gets down to the storytelling, it is really intriguing and it keeps you there. But it's overthrown, and you could say anything about like all the shonen about it's like, oh, a lot of these has fan service and all that. Like, yes, but a lot of this is revolving to the story. You know what I mean? Like you're literally finding stuff for one of the main characters in the show. And it's like, and it's like that's like the whole journey. And when you look at like the story arcs on the fandom wiki, it's like literally there's like a bunch of like this is like a saga like with like at least 10 arcs covering this first saga, and they're now just in the manga like covering a second, like on the second saga.
Wow.
I know. And I'm just like, okay, we're in this for a little bit, like at least another season is going to cover this, you know what I mean? So maybe 2, but it is like the first one, like the first episode, like obviously there was memes that came out of it. It was like react gifs that came out of it, but like so many reactions to certain scenes in the first episode, especially with like Turbo Granny. Like I will say Turbo Granny is probably one of my favorite characters in the show, especially after her arc wraps up, because then she just becomes like a comedic character.
Yeah.
It almost kind of reminds me of like a comedic Frieza, like her voice actress.
Yeah. Yes.
So
agree.
So but like the first one is like, and it starts off great, right? Like you find this nerdy guy versus the like, I wouldn't even say a popular girl, just like your average, like girl that people find like attractive and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they have a secret. Well, they have like their own like little interests, and it starts off with like, oh, like one likes aliens, one likes ghosts, or believes them,
Yeah.
and then they try and disprove each other's theories, and then they both on the same night find out that it's real, that they're each other's premises is real. But it is so weird how stuff happens because you get Turbo Granny. That's what I want my grandkids to call me, Turbo Granny. um, um, it's so weird, but then it's like it is also it's just an amalgam of weirdness.
Yeah, that like some of the things that happens in this show, like the first episode almost made me stop watching.
Yeah, especially
Um
that one scene in the spaceship.
the one scene in the spaceship, I was like, "Whoa, this is
Yeah,
like it was borderlining like something bad about to happen."
yeah,
And thankfully like it got interrupted.
yeah.
But I was just like,
But then it still ended up weird because the way it
yeah,
happened, it's just like, bro, like,
yeah.
why you got to do this?
Yeah, I'm just like, I need an adult. You know what I mean? But the characters that are in this show, and that kind of thing like happens again later in the
Mhm.
show, which kind of, I wouldn't say the show is for everybody,
Right.
for sure.
If you like weird, kooky stuff and you don't mind the adult stuff that they include in there, it's definitely a show to watch. But if you're what, I wouldn't recommend this for kids for sure.
No, definitely not. The voice acting is great. The character
Yes.
dynamic is also really well because you have Momo and Okaroon, and then you
Hmm.
have Granny, and then you have
Yeah.
Turbo Granny.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
And then you get two characters toward the second half of the season, again, Ira and Gigi, that
yeah,
bring in. I feel like Gigi was brought in. I know it's how the story arcs go in the manga, but I feel like Gigi was brought in too late for me to get a full opinion. I do like,
yes,
obviously, he is voiced by Alex Lee, who is the voice of Zenitsu from Demon Slayer, who is the voice of the goat Genu from
hmm,
Solo Leveling, and he also voices Mash in Mashley as well.
yep,
So this testament to him, like he's a side character in this. Probably, I think he'll probably end up being like more of an integral part later on in the series. But shout out to Alex Lee for being having a great range between all four of those characters that I mentioned.
yeah,
Fun fact: Momo is voiced by Abby Trott, who not a lot of people know because she doesn't speak that much in the show, but she is the voice of um, oh gosh, Tanjiro's sister. I just forgot.
Nezuko.
Nezuko. Thank you. She is the
Okay,
voice of the not very many dialogue lines Nezuko in Demon Slayer.
yeah. Amy has a question. What would you say the age cutoff for viewers would be? Um,
Probably like obviously mine's probably going to be low, like a little bit lower than yours. Mine is going to be like maybe 15, like because I feel like
I'd
that way.
I'd say 16,
Yeah,
something like that. Just because like these are like high schoolers, and
correct.
and I feel like when you're in high school there are things like, thankfully nothing is shown.
Yeah,
Some things are alluded to,
yeah,
and that's the thing that kind of makes me like a little
yeah. Like,
yeah, you know
need
what
to
I mean?
take a
I'm like,
shower after it.
I don't know about this. But yeah, I think at least 16
Yeah.
to watch the show. And it's not as fan services as other shows. I will
No.
say that. But the just the characters in this, and I would agree, like some of the characters get introduced way too late
Mhm.
into the show. But the arcs are really good. I feel like we got really two arcs within this that finish up, and then we had the very end that kind of
Leaves on a cliffhanger.
leaves on a very cliffhanger. And I don't know where, like, of course, we're getting the next season, the middle of next year.
Mhm.
But I'm just like, my God, you're going to leave us like right at this moment.
I know,
Um,
7 months in, like, you're gonna have to make a 7-month gap, and it's just like,
yeah,
all right.
yeah. But overall, I think the art style is really good. I think
Yes.
the combination of aliens and like the occult or spiritual like
Mhm.
part of it, I thought was really good. And
Yeah.
finding out um that the aliens and like the
Spirits are
monsters,
like, the spirits are, like, intertwined with each other, like, or at least that's
yeah,
the running theory.
yeah, and it's like the only reason why aliens haven't made a super big presence within the world is because of how powerful the spirits are on Earth
Yeah.
and everything. I just think it's really cool, and to see the relationship between Okaroon and Momo develop from he's never had a friend
Yeah. And she's never had
to
a guy that hasn't like, either bullied her, made fun of her, or wanna just use her for other things.
yeah, yeah. And he's just a friend. And he doesn't even realize that he should like her until like later on in
Yeah.
the season and
And,
everything.
that's another interesting part too, because it's like, the dynamic you get is, like, both of them are, like, I think platonic, but I think
Yes.
Okaroon wants it to be is starting to get feelings that it wants to be more, but I think Momo is still in that, like, he's just a friend phase. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know,
I feel like
dude.
toward the end, like when Gigi comes in, I feel like she's starting to figure out, like, maybe I have feelings toward this, but it's not defined. You know what I mean? Like, it's not obvious. Like, she still wants,
Yeah.
like, she still, I think this was like the first guy that wasn't a jerk to her in a
Yeah.
long time. So I think she wants to keep that relationship, or part of the relationship, going,
True.
but
True.
I don't think she has, like, romantic feelings for him just yet. I think they're starting to peak, but I don't think that's there yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's as full blown as Okaroon's,
Yeah,
but I do think that she sees him as somebody that she's interested in that
correct.
way, just because of like the way she reacts when she like he's like working out and then
Oh yeah, because I wanted to bring that up too. Like, I feel like we go. I like how we have back to back love triangles in the seasons,
mhm,
because the whole thing when Ira comes in, it's like Molo gets a little bit jealous that he's
yep,
hanging out with her instead
yep,
of. But I think again, it's more of like a hangout, like to talk about their interest rather than romantic. But I think you start to see the cracks a little bit with Momo and be like, is there something there with her? But then when Gigi
yeah,
shows up right back, and then now Okaroon is on the other side of it, where he's like, man, that's her childhood friend. Like, I don't know if I have a chance, type thing,
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, and with Ira, like she's like ticked,
oh yeah,
she's
like
like really mad at like
she
that,
just wants
and
to get back at Momo,
yeah, yeah. Well, and like she's into Okaroon, which is like interesting as
right?
well, and like it's like it's just funny because like the way like when we were kids, when we were
Hmm.
teenagers, like our understanding of like relationships was what we had seen on movies or read. You know what I mean? Like it was n- we did not nobody when they're a teenager knows what a relationship actually
No,
should be. So it's like the show is taking that and playing with it and
yeah,
like making it so obvious. It's like, yeah, this is how silly we all are.
yeah,
It's like a universal thing. It's like when you're a kid you're going to act stupid.
oh yeah,
um and I think it does a really good way of doing it. Even the last episode between Gigi and Okaroon, when they're
yeah,
like playing soccer and it's like, I won, and like, all of that. It's like,
yeah. Like, competition's like, I was like, well, I've been her childhood friend, like, and then it's like, well, I kissed her. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's
so
it's those little things that I really like, but I can't wait for the next season.
yeah,
I do think the the wait is going to definitely make it interesting as well.
yes,
And it being like, and this kind of leads into Kage Summit later, it being not only available on Crunchyroll, but also on Netflix,
yeah,
I thought was very interesting. And of course, being simulcast, being, dub and sub at the same
hmm,
time, I thought was really cool. Um, Amy has a comment. Teenagers are just trying to figure out life without a fully developed frontal lobe. Exactly.
Facts.
And I feel like this whole show is that while dealing with aliens and spirits.
Yeah. I will say though, like the transformation, like the transformations in the show are like some of the smoothest I've seen in like a
Yes.
lot. Like I don't want to say in any anime, but definitely as far as shonen goes, it's definitely some of the smoothest transformations. Like what was it? I think it was in the early part, like after
Second
he got
episode.
like second or third episode where like they're standing side, Momo and Okarun are standing side by side, and it just naturally starts to just transform
Oh,
in
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
like just that smooth transformation. I'm just like, that is smooth. Like that
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like this is like it's like butter. And then like when later on, like we'll get to it here in a minute, but when Ira gets the ability to transform, hers is just as
Mm-hmm.
easily like, and it's like, so I feel like going forward, like that's going to be the show's like little niches. Like these transformations are just going to be boom boom.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit. Like, I want to talk episode 7, but Turbo Granny's story, like the way that ended,
Yes.
I was not expecting the gravitas and the seriousness of like what she stood for and how she
Hmm.
helped, and like that was
That
really
that
really
that threw me for
interesting.
because you know when you see her, you just think she's just a spirit that wants to gobble up some things, you know what I mean? Like, and in return, you can, you know, do some other things, but you know, like, you just think that she's that. And then when you find out, it's like, oh, this is actually why she was here, like stuck to that tunnel. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, like there was another spirit involved there, but
yeah,
when you see that, oh, this was actually her purpose in the afterlife,
mm-hmm,
I'm like, oh, and then it's like
yep,
it goes dark for just a brief minute. I'm like, okay, I respect her, and then it's like that's why I think when she becomes like her spirit goes into like this inanimate object and becomes lifelike. She becomes like one of my favorite characters in the show because knowing her backstory then makes her more likable as this
yep,
like little side background character.
yeah, and I love that. I don't know if you've paid attention, like to the end credits and everything. The reason why she has like the hair dryer and the fan is to feel like she's going fast again.
Oh, I wondered why in the end credits, like she was just like, Bub's like, okay, has she never seen a hairdryer before? But that also makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
so
because
much more
she's used to having the
the
wind
wind
just
in
like
her
whipping
face.
past.
Well,
Yeah,
because
it's
she's
like
never lost. So I mean, this
yeah.
is the first time she's lost.
And I like the granny versus granny fight was great. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
the her whole first arc was awesome. And
Hmm.
then you get like the second arc, which was with Ira, and then you
Hmm.
get the silk
Serpos, yeah, the acrobatic. No, that's acrobatic Silky. Yeah,
yeah, acrobatic silky.
it,
Dude,
and it goes weird again because then she just like whole swallows Ira and Okaroon, and you're like, all right, what is this freak trying to do? But then like when they're trying to save Ira, and then like you and then acrobatic Silky offers herself up and basically like, hey, use my life force. And then Momo uses that to peer into Silky, and it's like it's heart wrenching because I
yes.
almost went because at first I thought maybe this is Ira's mother, like maybe there was a disconnect, but no, it's just a mother protecting her child, and that's all she was wanting to do. It's like certain it's just like with Granny, she was just wanting a mission, and Silky was the same thing. But then you see like the whole growth, like it got dark and like it was more long form storytelling in episode 7, but episode 7 definitely I think was the highlight of the entire show in
Yes.
terms of like storytelling, and it was heart-wrenching, man, like seeing like how it ended and like her trying to get out from a bad situation and then just like losing her kid and part of it. I'm like, bro, that's rough.
Yeah, and then, like her latching on to Ira because she was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, mommy," and like she had lost her mom, and
Yeah.
like, dude, that was like I saw a lot of people, on TikTok and in different places, like episode 7 just wrecked me, and
Hmm.
I was like, it was just such good storytelling,
Yeah.
and I feel like Shonen has great storytelling, but the fights are the things that like are the things for Shonen,
Right.
and it's like that right there was grade A storytelling. And I think that's
Correct.
why anime is one of the best doing it right
Mediums. Yeah,
now.
for sure.
And just that, and then like what happens with Ira later being able to transform into
Mhm.
acrobatic Silky, like that was really cool. I wasn't expecting that
No,
in
you weren't like, you just thought, "Okay, she's gonna go away," and then all of a sudden, like, they're in the next arc, they're, fighting the Serpos again, and all of a sudden she just transforms on the spot. I'm like, What is this?"
yeah, and I love that the same like attack, like the kick attack, is the thing that doesn't work for it like any time. I'm just like,
Right.
stop doing that. No one do that attack anymore.
No. Like, it's like how many, how many Rasengans will it take before you give up?
Yeah, it's like, that's not working. Let's talk.
Yeah, it's like,
My childhood.
I was just like you.
um, so Derek, kind of final thoughts on DanDaDan season one.
Mhm.
What do you feel like stood out the most for you?
Obviously, I think the character dynamic between Momo and Okarun, I think going forward will be the best part of the show and will continue to be the best part. Obviously, yes, because they're the main characters, but I think this that continual growth between them will be intriguing. But also, is like I hope, like we kind of just said a moment ago, hopefully the peak storytelling continues to go can with with the further arcs because this obviously it ends on a cliffhanger because it's on a current arc. Like the current arc is like 23 chapters, so you got to think 2 episodes ain't going to do it. It hasn't. So obviously we're going to probably get a few more episodes into that, and then I think like either the one after that or the two after that is like 30 to 40 chapters. So we're going to get a long form arc. Um, I think by second season. But I also want to see what's in the hollow point of the house, in Gigi's house. Like they left on an eerie thing because you just see it and then you see talismans all over. I'm like, all right, something was clearly meant to be kept here, so I want to know
Yeah,
that. Um, but again, like I hope to see Okarun develop his powers too, because obviously he's like Sonic, just got to go fast. Like I want to see a little bit more depth, and especially
yeah.
with Momo's powers as well, because hers are growing. She can do a lot of things like spirit links and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully both of them grow, continue that little like the shonen trope of growth with their powers.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm really excited for. And with Gigi being in there, I'm assuming that he's going to get some sort of powers as well. And they're going to kind of have like the four of them,
Yeah.
all have
Well,
different
like
powers and all of that.
there's a panel that came out like when in the middle of it, it's like so we're like where people like were sharing it's like I can't wait for them to animate this. And it was just a bunch of random characters. We've seen three of them. Of course, we've seen
Mm,
Okarun, we've seen Ira, and we've seen even the fighting crab shrimp, whatever it
yep.
is. So those are the three. So obviously you can make it the case that all of them will probably get powers at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think just the storytelling is what I'm looking forward to in season two.
Hmm.
Like all of that leads into character development, pacing, plot, and I think that is one of the things that stood out the most to me is the
Hmm.
pacing within this season was so well done. I don't feel like I got bored at all. Like when the episode ended, I was like, man, that was the quickest 26 and a half minutes that or
Yeah.
28, however long they are.
23.
Like I was just like, man, that was super quick.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I gotta wait the next week because I watch them as they come out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm super, super excited for the next season, which will be next year, which we'll talk about our most anticipated shows that we're looking forward to. Derek, are there any other shows that you've been watching that you just want to kind of mention real quick?
Of course, I think one of them. I don't know what that is. Someone's either spraying something or doing something outside my apartment. Sorry, guys.
That's me.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm about to say, you always have to be the annoying gnat in my ear.
Yep.
But no, other stuff, of course. Don't remember if no, I think I did talk about the last One Piece season that I watched on the last episode. I've watched, season 3 of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Not that I'll talk about it here in a little bit in our, in another section, but not didn't build off the momentum that was season 2, but I watched it, I'm up to date on that, still excited to see what season 4 can bring because I feel like this was a build up to the next big thing like how season 1 was to season 2, but there's that. What else did I watched something else? Of course, Mashley. We watched Mashley. Um, that we'll give our thoughts on that here in a little bit as well. But that's pretty much like I haven't been able to watch. Like, and I'm rewatching season 6 of My Hero. I just finished rewatching My Hero season 6. Fixing to watch, which is our spoiler, our anime watch of January is going to be
Yep.
season 7 of My Hero Academia. So looking forward to that. Quick question, because I know you watched some of the lead up to it when it was airing live, like
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year. The four little memories, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
the four,
Yep.
are they worth watching, or are they just pretty much retelling?
They're just retellings.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip
Yeah.
those. Go right
Yeah.
into season 7.
I wouldn't waste the time.
Got you. So, but that's pretty much. I haven't watched too much just because a lot of these, like, of course, Slime's 24. Rewatching season 2. Then there was a movie that apparently I missed in Slime that's actually really good. And like some like a little side story. Like watching about rewatching a lot of these like 20 plus episode seasons has like taken up a lot of my time, so I haven't watched too much. But I
Yeah.
am in. I'm going to get back in the saddle again starting next month.
Nice. Nice. Amy says Mashley or Mashal. Yeah, it's Mashley. I want to say Mashal, but
Yeah.
it's Mashley. I love Mashley. That was last month. Me and Amy actually watched that one together.
Mhm.
And it was so funny,
It
and
was.
like just Harry Potter and anime like mashed together.
I know.
Um,
Harry Potter the anime was super good.
yeah. For me, the only thing other than DanDaDan that I've been watching has been Dragon Ball Daima.
Mhm.
And I'm 2 episodes behind right now just because holidays and just all of that.
Right.
Um, Overall, I think it's an okay show. I know the last 2 episodes have been more action.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw a shot from Daima. I think it was this most recent episode of something that people have wanted to happen with a
yep,
certain character, and
yep.
I was like, "Huh, that's cool. Weird that they chose this show to do it, but cool nonetheless."
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that like actually happen, and then that's really it. So I am looking forward. There's 20 episodes in this season from what I've
Mhm.
read, so we're a good chunk in. And the big thing, like for anyone that's watched Dragon, I feel like it's closer to Dragon Ball than Dragon Ball Z.
I would
Um,
after watching seeing shots of the show, since episode 1, I would agree with that for sure.
yeah, it's very episodic. It's like it will set something up super quick and then it'll finish that thought and then move to another thing. So
Mhm.
it doesn't like there's the overarching tale, essentially kind of like gathering the Dragon Balls or the Red Ribbon Army or Pilaf or whatever. In Dragon Ball, it is kind of that way in this one, which I don't necessarily like. Um,
Yeah.
because I feel like longer storytelling is the way to go, but we'll see where it goes from here. Um, but yeah, so those are the things that we've been watching. Now, Derek, I want to talk about the top animes of 2024. And to
Mhm.
clarify for everyone, these are shows that we have watched this year. They don't have to be shows that have come out this year. There are,
Correct.
of course, shows that have come out this year that we've watched, but these are the shows that we watched and that we really, really enjoy.
Mhm.
We can just kind of go back and forth, Derek, if you
Yeah,
want.
that's fine.
Um, so, what is one show for you, Derek, that you really enjoyed?
Oh, let's just go off the top, right? Off the top rim. Solo Leveling, man, like that thing, like
Mm,
seeing the trailer for the season 2, which is spoiler, like we're gonna, spoiling the upcoming winter anime season. It's gonna be here in just over a week, man. Like it's
yeah.
crazy that it's already this close to it. So seeing that, still hearing like on TikTok, like the memes, like that music from episode, I believe 6 it was, when he just like goes like berserk on
Yep.
that group it's starting to resonate again. It's just giving me those feels and those memories again, to where that show, like, even though it came out almost about a year ago now,
January 7th,
yeah, January. So I
2024.
mean, it's pretty much a year ago. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But beginning of 2024 was like still, I think, still tops. And I know we titled the episode "Is DanDaDan the best anime of the year?" Question mark. I would say no. Like, I would say Solo Leveling is the best one I've watched all year. Like, obviously there's some other
Mm,
good ones, but just like you said, the pacing, like the growth of a character, like the character development, and just seeing like him become like just a force to be reckoned with,
yep.
still resonates with me. Even now, like again, I am so pumped to see because the upcoming arc they're going to cover the Jeju Island. Like they talked about it
Yes.
in season one about how it was like it was pretty much like a massacre, like something that like a big failure on the defense forces side. And I can't wait for them to revisit this and see what's going to transpire, especially now with a pumped up Genu, and just see how
Yeah.
his story continues to go. So I'm looking forward to season two, but season one was a great start to a show.
Season one was amazing. I remember watching it and just devouring it.
Correct.
There's really two shows on this list that I couldn't just put it down. That would be Kaiju number 8 and Solo Leveling.
Yeah.
Both of those just I was mad when they because they were simulcasting Kaiju, and then
Oh yeah.
it was like, oh, we got to put it off a couple weeks. I'm like, so I watched the last of it in Japanese just because I was like, I gotta know. I
You
cannot
did it
wait.
like Demon Slayer, like I need answers. I don't need to wait.
Exactly. It's like I can't wait around. But Solo Leveling, like it was yes, there are tropes and everything, but I thought the gamification, because I was reincarnated as a slime,
Hmm.
and like there was some game stuff in there, but Solo Leveling scratched that itch so
Correct.
well. And like I literally checked out like the first 5 mangas
Hmm.
to read, so I've got those on the shelf from the library and everything, so I can you know be ready for it and all of that. But love Solo Leveling. One of my favorites that came out this year, came out in January as well, is Delicious in Dungeon.
Mm.
That show was phenomenal. The art style, the character development, the music, the humor, and I like that's one thing that you'll see in this list kind of over and over is there is some sort of humor that is
Hmm.
in each one of these shows. I don't like I like a serious thing, but humor really makes me enjoy an anime more.
Hmm.
And this was one show that Amy and I watched as well. Amy's Delicious in Dungeons, whoop whoop. Because I started watching it, I was like, Amy, I think you would really like this. And I
Hmm.
played her the first episode, and she was like, oh, that's really funny. And then we kept watching, and
I can make bread with it. Bread, bread, bread.
Brett. And I think Derek, you still need to watch this because I
Yeah.
know you haven't yet. But guys, this is such a good show. It's got a very interesting world, the characters you really connect with, and there's so much that I want to go into, but like what I cannot wait for season 2. I don't know when it's coming out, but
Yeah.
I think that Delicious in Dungeon is a fantastic show. Derek, what's your next one?
You kind of alluded to it. But actually, you know what? Let me throw this in here because I watched it earlier this year. Vinland Saga, man, like that
Mm,
show was great. Like like obviously season two came out last year,
yep.
was the big hit of last year, but like just watching it this year, like seeing season going the dynamic from season one to season two was great. Like season one, very like we talked about it, very Game of Thrones esque, especially the
Yep.
way it ended. And then seeing Thorfinn's development and just how he does like a complete 180 in season two. Like, yes, I know like there was like the controversy of like how it is, but that's how the story arc goes. And I feel like it's going to tell it's a different take on like warriors and fights and war on it, and I think it's going to do something very different. Like obviously it's only 4 arcs
Yes.
in the manga. We're halfway through. Like season 3 will probably come in another like 5 years, I feel like. But regardless, like season two doing like because I told you my thoughts on season two. Like I told you like how the people are idiots for not liking it
Yeah.
because it doesn't have enough blood and enough action. It's like, all right, mouth breathers, go somewhere. um but like just the way like Thorfinn's mindset changes over the course of the show is fantastic.
Hmm.
So and like I am stoked for when, like, it's obviously going to be worth the wait. Whenever season 3 decides to grace us, I will watch it. But yeah, Vinland Saga, I finally corrected that sin because I haven't watched it. I think the first season came out in 2019, so corrected that sin. Finally watched it, and I'm glad I finally watched it. It was definitely worth the wait.
Yeah, I remember watching it and talking to you about it, and I was like, this is the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah,
Like the first season is action. Like it is
yeah,
so good, and the twists and turns, the games of politics and war and how
hmm,
they meld together, and the end of season 1 is so heartbreaking
yes,
in its own way. And then season 2, like when I started watching Vinland Saga, like Netflix like started me on like season 2. I was like, I
oh
don't
yeah,
understand what's going on here. So then I went back and watched season 1. But going into season 2, I was like, it was jarring, like
hmm,
not knowing what was going on.
correct,
And then it's like, okay, this is totally different. And it was super slow,
hmm,
but the long form storytelling that we keep talking about is so good in this season. Like it takes time. And once you get there, dude, it is absolutely fantastic.
hmm,
Like once you, and like, yes, there's action, but like Thorfinn's growth, and like he is so much like Thor's by the end of the
oh for sure,
season. Dude, it's so good. And it's like, I cannot give season 2 enough praise, but I do think if you enjoyed season 1, know that season 2 is a huge shift. Is
yes,
a huge shift, and I think if you know that and you're patient, you're going to definitely be rewarded with an
hmm,
amazing show. But I think that's the thing going into it. It's like you need to know that is going to be a big shift in kind of style and storytelling, because
hmm,
most of first season is through war and a lot of action.
yes,
But season 2 was amazing for me. Another show that kind of crept out of nowhere, like I was just trying to, I finished Solo Leveling. I was kind of looking for another game inspired kind of show and everything, and that's
hmm,
Overlord. I watched
yes,
all of Overlord that's out right now, and that show is so hilarious. Just the the like just he's like stuck in this world, but he has to, be this like overlord, and like I'm Zulgon, and he
I
knows
am Ein
everything.
Zulgone.
Like the dude that does the voice for him,
Yeah, Chris
peak.
Guerrero. Like, you want to talk about, like, I talked about it in episode 3, how certain characters were just made to play certain, like, or certain voice actors were just made to voice certain characters. Chris Guerrero was made to voice Ein Zulgone.
Yeah, and I loved every minute of Overlord. Like I literally just binged like the three
Yeah,
or four. It's
four
three
seasons.
seasons.
Four
Okay, four
seasons.
seasons. I binged all of it. I can't wait for the next bit that we get.
Yeah,
But
which is
it
supposed to be
was,
like, I know they did 2 movies, but it's pretty much just a recap of the events. But
yeah.
supposedly this next movie that's going to come out, I think it's either next year or 2026, will be like a new movie. It'll tell like new stuff.
I'm excited for that because the show was just so good. The cast of characters and everything, and
Correct.
just the comedy of like him being put in these situations where like his captains are like thinking of these plans, and it's like, well, of course you knew that, master. And it's like it's like,
Like,
yes, of
yes,
course.
good. Yes, I was just testing you.
Like those moments are just hilarious.
And then like this mysterious force, like when he gets like really amped up, really anxious, and this is like this calming effect, where he's like, yes, we will do this.
Yeah, and the fights are just really interesting because like the only time he's actually challenged is when he fights what is her name, the vampire,
Oh, oh my gosh.
Shin, something like that.
Um, Shoutier.
Shoutier. That's like the only time he's actually challenged through the whole series. The rest of the
Yeah,
time he's just like, you know.
yeah.
So
Like he has like so many like abilities. I'm like, man, this is broke.
Yeah, but I love it, and not all the time that I like, because I feel like slime. I know you like slime, but I
Yeah,
felt like there wasn't enough there.
yeah,
The ramp wasn't there the whole time.
correct. I agree.
And that's why I really like Overlord. So that's one of my top animes, and I don't think any of the seasons came out this year, but yeah, that's
No,
one of
like
my.
season 4 came out either last year or 2022, but yeah, it's none of them came out. Like the series started in like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, 2022 is when season 4 came out. So
Yeah.
they need to hurry it up. Derek, what's another one for you?
Another one that you alluded to earlier was Kaiju number 8, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
that thing gave me like obviously yes, it feels like my hero in certain aspects, like with the
Yep.
main character. But I feel like, and I know you haven't watched it, but it's also like mixed in with the main character of Blue Exorcist as well, because it's like he's gotten this power to turn into a kaiju and he's got to keep it hidden, and then like typical anime, it gets especially shown in anime, it gets revealed to the
Yep.
world that he is actually this. And now you have to deal with the ramifications of how do we go about this? Are you still our friend? Are you still with us in our fight? And just see those last, like, see that, because we got more of a longer build, but like, it was like, it like DanDaDan, it didn't overstay its welcome on certain things. It just like
Mm-hmm.
kept the pace. And like Kaiju number 9, like what's his deal? Because that thing is freaky. Like
Yep.
I feel like not knowing and not seeing anything in the manga, that's going to be the Mahito of this show, where I'm just going to hate him by the end of it, because
Yeah.
he has that like carefree, like of course he's learning things, but he's like got that carefree attitude of like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use people. People are my puppets. Like I don't care. Like it's gonna, as long as it benefits me, I don't care.
Yeah.
But that like fight with the commander at the end, with like toward the end, was just epic, and it shows like, all
Yes.
right, like how like these people aren't going to just roll over and die,
Yeah, and like the amount of gear that they've been able to develop from the different kaiju, and that the commander is like able to use
Hmm.
this like extreme version of it and everything, because you see like the lieutenant, and like when
Oh,
earlier
that fight,
on.
man! Woo!
Yeah, like and just the different amount of kaiju that you see from the whole season
Hmm.
is just so cool, and the animation is great, the transformations are there, but again, it goes back to the comedy. I think the
Yes.
comedy is one of the best parts of Kaiju number 8, and him having his friend that he meets on the cleanup force,
Yeah.
and like trying to keep his secret and all of this. And it kind of reminds me of One Punch Man, where he's got the dude that he's training that's like
Yeah.
higher level and everything, but he's way more stronger than he is and all of that.
Yeah.
So
That's funny. Genos, I
yeah,
guess you could say, or I don't know if
yeah,
that's
yeah,
him.
yeah. Genos is One Punch Man, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the blonde haired dude in this show is that for I don't know names.
Yeah.
Kaiju number 8, essentially. So I just love the animation, the music, the stakes. I like that they don't just like, they do ramp, but there's times where like the stakes are very subtle, like they're very
Right.
personal for people, and I think that moves the plot along, because it's not just the main character, you have different characters that have motivations as well
Yes.
within there. So I really like that about this show.
Kafka Hibino is the main character's name.
Kafka, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then it was like they like, oh, you're an old man, he's like 30 something, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
I'm
he's
like,
not old,
I
dang
know. It's
it.
like, be careful. It's like, be careful, man. Like, I'm like, us being in our 30s too. Like, we take offense to that, of course.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like it's like Japanese, y'all need to know when old is old and 30 is
right.
not old.
Right. Like, just because y'all might have a lower retirement age doesn't mean it's old. Like, come on now. But yeah, just seeing like the division commander, like his childhood friend, like
Yep.
that dynamic, and like her being like cold and like not like really acknowledging him, but then when they have that moment like after it's revealed that he's the kaiju, like she's like almost relieved because it's like hearing him say like the promise that he gave to them as children is a relief to her. It's like, all right, he's still the same person. He's not going to
Mhm.
change, like despite even having these powers. But then her father gets involved and is like, or no, it's the other girl's father.
Yep.
Yeah, but like, and even her
Blonde-haired
dynamic,
girl.
yeah, the blonde haired girl, like even her dynamic is ridiculous because she comes off as like snob, like I'm better than you at anything, and then you see her vulnerable side, and you're just like, you're like any other snooty girl or like snooty
Yeah.
person in a show, like you're just covering it up to cover, to cover being a hard shell crab,
Yeah.
toughening up. But and then but even like you said, the vice captain, like with the swords, like
Yep.
that dude, if that he's a borderline cheat code with his abilities. Now, obviously, it has limits, but like him just like going to town, I'm just like, oh, now I see why everyone else uses guns and you don't.
Yeah. He gives me like Sasuke, gosh, what is the dude's name from Yu Yu Hakusho? I'm literally wearing the show.
Kuwabara,
Kuwabara, no, not Kuwabara.
Kurama,
Uh
EA.
Hiei, yeah, Hiei. Like he gives me that kind of vibe where it's like uh they're definitely like more cool. Like he'll play kind of like silly,
Yeah.
but like his fighting style is like in your face kind of deal
Yeah.
that I feel more aligns with them. For me, I think one of the biggest ones was we've already talked about DanDaDan. I do think it's one of the top animes of the
Mhm.
year. But one that I wish I would have watched long ago, but I'm
Mhm.
glad that I finally took the time and was such a huge thing for me this year was Full Metal Alchemist
Yeah.
Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Man, this show is phenomenal, and if you've never watched it or if you have watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this show is literally why we have great storytelling in anime these
Yes.
days. We both love fighting animes. We love Dragon
Mhm.
Ball Z and all of that, but that's not necessarily known for its complex storytelling.
Correct.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is so great. The music, the character, the art, like yes, it is older school, but the art I feel like is so good. It is so interesting. The world is there. The political structure within the whole show is
Mhm.
very interesting as well because you think that one thing is going on, but then this other thing is
It's also,
happening.
and it's like, oh, they're trying to do this, and it's like, nope, this is actually our original plan.
Yeah, and like things start to unravel. You have questions the whole time, and you're like, well, is their dad the evil guy? Because the evil guy looks exactly like him.
Right.
And you're wondering this the whole time, and then like pieces start happening, and like Mustang, and you just got so many great characters
Mhm.
within this. And once you get to the end, you're just like, wow, I've like I will say this. I will die on this hill, Derek.
Mhm.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was better than the whole Marvel run up to Endgame.
I'm not going to disagree with you. Like, but it's also comparing apples to oranges in certain aspects. But
Are you sure about that? Because the storytelling, like I'm just saying,
mhm.
the storytelling is solid all the way through. I do
I
feel
mean,
like
true.
up to Endgame there were some hit or misses, and
Yeah.
Endgame like went to a little bit too long. Like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I feel like it's like 64 episodes or something like that. Like it's not
Yeah. Yeah.
super
60.
long,
Yeah. Right.
and you get to the end and you're just like, man, and you see what happens to him afterwards, and you're just like, wow, I just experienced something that is a masterpiece.
True cinema.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I say I'll die on that hill. I'll
Yeah.
fight anybody. I'll put on the boxing gloves. Like this show is better than Marvel Phase whatever, one through all the way.
I can't wait for you to sit down and take a moment to watch Attack on Titan then, because I feel like if you enjoyed the storytelling of that, I feel like you'll do the same with Attack on Titan. So,
well, that is on my list, Derek.
yeah.
That is on my
I
list.
gave you an
Uh,
extensive list once you started this journey, so it's not like you're short on content.
True, true. So one of these days I will get to that.
Mhm.
Derek, are there any other top animes for 2024 that you want to hit?
My last one I'll give is I kind of alluded to in episode 3 of the show, but I kind of combined two of them together, but I want to give it more of the roses this time around. And that's because the current season's airing now, going into the second core starting next month. But b- uh oh my Blue Exorcist. I almost said Blue
Mhm,
Note Saga. I'm like, that's a different thing. Blue Exorcist, it started out in 2012 and it diverged and went anime for like anime only stuff and got away from the manga second half of the show. Came back season 2 5 years later and it was good. Like but went back to the manga, really good. Then season 3 drops January, and it blew it like there would like he's talking about twists and turns. So there were some character twists and turns from the previous 2 seasons that I did not see coming, especially with one character in particular that had been more of like a background character and that they brought to light, and I was just like, wow, this is actually intriguing. Like they're actually getting to like the deep meat of the storytelling of like the overall show. Like this is actually becoming a really intriguing show. Like I'm glad I stuck with it. Like it's one of those, like, you want to talk about, it's borderline not a hidden gem, but also is, because I feel like not a lot of people talk about it. But
yeah,
also, it's, if they're on a season 4 at this point, some people are watching it, and like it's getting its just desserts. But I feel like not enough people are talking about it as being
mhm,
like, okay, now it's actually becoming intriguing. And the second core is like the title of it, that they're going to start next month, is something like, that they've talked about since season 1, being it's like an event that happened like before the main character was born, or like the night he was born. That I feel like we're going to delve more into why this happened to flesh out that storytelling. So I was really intrigued with season 3 of Blue Exorcist. I can't wait to when all of season 4 is out and I can just binge watch that thing.
one of these days I'll get around to it because it does sound really interesting. I think I
Yeah.
will enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
So, Derek, we play a game each and every episode
Yeah.
called Overrated and Underrated,
Yes.
and this time we do overrated um villains or moves or whatever. But this
Hmm.
time, since we're talking about animes that we've watched in 2024,
Hmm.
what is your overrated anime for 2024?
I alluded to it earlier, only because of the hype that's like the buildup that season 2 brought, and that's season 3 of Slime. Like I keep telling you to just give the first half of season 2 a try, but after watching this and like watching season 3, I'm just like, I can't recommend him watch just one season and then him get the same reaction I did, where I push, I push, I push, and then he likes it, and then he watches season 3 and is like, "What is this crap?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's good. It was a slow burn. Like they had a good start to it, but then it like wrapped up really quick, and then it focused on like, remember the festival arc in season 4 of My Hero that we did.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
like that, but like half a season's worth of intrigue. Now it had its
Mm,
moments, but the overall moments that season 2 brought of Slime compared to season 3, it was a letdown. You know what I mean? Like season 2, like it built up and then it reached the climax and it was like, holy cow, like this is like stuff's about to go down. And the
yeah.
whole season, like from that point on, was just great. Season 3, it kind of continues that, but then once it wraps up that story, like 6 7 episodes in, the rest of it is just like focused on that festival and like slow moving stuff. And I'm like, okay, okay, like this is not what I wanted. Like, obviously, yes, not every season, like not every anime arc in the manga
Yeah.
is going to be great, and we know that. Like, this is like I know season 2 of One Punch Man was like one of the lowest rated ones, like of the show. I know season 3 is coming out next year, but compared to the first 2 seasons, season 2 was a letdown compared to season
Yeah.
1. But that's just how the manga goes. They're trying to figure out the arcs, but season 4 is coming out. it's a 3-year gap between each of the seasons. So I feel like 2027 is when we'll see Slime season 4. So hopefully we are getting a second movie out of it in between. So hopefully it will get back to what season 2 brought. But that is definitely like people talked about season 3, I feel like, and they're like, oh, Slime, it's still great. And I'm like, is it? Is it? Because after a certain point, it doesn't do it anymore for me.
Yeah. Well, I hate that for you because I know how much you enjoyed season 2 and you like the show.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm glad you won't bring it up to me anymore until the next season comes out, and
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see
Then,
if
and then
it
if it's a banger, then I'll revisit this.
yeah, if it's a banger. So mine, I feel like I might get a little bit of heat on. And not that I didn't enjoy this series. I think I enjoyed it more than you did Slime season 3,
Mm-hmm.
but Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Mm.
I think this thing is hyped to just the max.
Yeah.
Because like the show starts out really interesting. I think they use a lot of very different ways of, especially when it came out. Like I feel like they used
Right.
very mature themes within the show. They used a lot of different storytelling things. I don't feel like it was super tropey in like the big moments, but some of the characters definitely felt very tropey.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I don't like how I felt at the very end of the show. And I feel like
Ah.
a lot of people felt this way as well, because it's like it ends and the watch order is like, well, before you finish the last 2 episodes, you need to watch this movie, and then you need to watch this one and this one, and then you can come back and watch the last 2 episodes of the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I shouldn't have to do Marvel-esque crap to understand
Correct.
the last 2 episodes of a TV show. I think it's an interesting one. It was weird that Netflix literally recast and revoiced all the characters because
Mm-hmm.
it is on Netflix. But I think they did a really good job. I do think they did an awesome job on it, but I do think Neon Genesis Evangelion is an overrated show. It's solid, but it is definitely hyped to the moon and back.
Yeah.
So, Derek, it's time for our underrated shows of 2024.
So obviously, I alluded to one, which is Blue Exorcist. I feel like it just doesn't get enough credit, but I did go into it enough. Another one I'll give another underrated that also came back this year with a new season that is not all. I don't think is like does. We'll see the next season like how it does, but I feel like it'll be there where Blue Exorcist is. But I think Blue Exorcist just has done it faster with the storytelling. But that's Black Butler as well. Black Butler, I feel like, again, went through the same thing. Came out mid 2000s.
Mhm.
After 6 episodes in, it did this weird thing where deviated from the manga, came back to the manga for one arc, deviated again. All of season 2 was an anime exclusive, like anime only type thing. It did like again intriguing parts like for the stuff that they did, but it wasn't like now that we're in the like see. Then it came back season 3 with like the actual next arc of the manga, and it was really intriguing, done really well. Like had some moments like in season 3 where I'm just like, holy crap! Like why did they like they did this type stuff?
Yeah.
And again, the dynamic between CL and Sebastian is really great. Like their contract, like their abilities. Like CL is the brains, Sebastian is the brawn type thing, and then season 4 hits and they again it's all like it's based in London, so it's like it's all about like CL works as like the undercover agent for the queen and like handles anything like supernatural, like done dirties type stuff that they just
Mhm.
can't, that people on the street level can't handle.
Yeah.
And then they handle um and then the season 4 comes out, or yeah, season 4 comes out, and it continues that, and it builds off because they have like a 2-part OVA that's actually canon and a movie that's actually canon that builds off the event of season 3. And I like this because like we're so used to like when movies come out like not being canon, like all like they mention
Dragon Ball
stuff.
Z is the worst about this.
Correct. But it was like really when Demon Slayer did it first type thing that they were like, oh, this is actually part canon. And I think it continues that momentum, even though Black Butler, I think no Black Butler, I think it did around the same time as Demon Slayer, but that could be that's neither here nor there. But um it all correlates in the same, like you're seeing the main character start to form in Black Butler because he pops in at the end of season 3, Bill goes into the OVAs, goes into the movie, and then is like pops up again in season 4, and you're like, all right, this character is like gonna be like the nail or the thorn in their sides going forward with anything supernatural, anything. And then like you keep getting hints about CL because there was something that happened to him that led him to be like meet with Sebastian. Like his family was murdered, like his family was murdered and he was tortured. There was a reason for that they were doing, that they were trying to do, that I hasn't gotten to that explanation yet. And I feel like we're leading to that. And I feel like the main villain of this, presumably what I assume to be the main villain, is going to play a part in that, or will have some part to play in this when it's all said and done. So I can't wait. Season 5 is coming out next year. I haven't given a release date yet, but I am also, the underrated, I feel like doesn't get enough talked about, is Black Butler.
I'm sure you've talked about Black Butler before to me, but like just hearing you talk about it and like having the OVAs and then the movies like build this character up, I think that is so underrated, just like you were talking about. And it's like it lets that character build more, because a lot of times they'll like bring a villain in for a season or an arc, and it's like, there can be good storytelling within that arc, but the longer time you have to kind of just smidgens here and there, a little, and like he's foiling things, he's making things difficult for our main character. I think that makes it such a much more impactful story than just, all right, I'm the big bad, ha 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 ha, like I've got a lot of power, like I love that. I love that. So definitely makes me interested in Black Butler, Derek.
Yeah.
More than slime for sure. So underrated for me, this is a show that is complete. So you can watch everything. I will say season 3, they did recast the main character voice because of like some union stuff and everything, but I do still think that the voice actor that did season 3 was very good, and that is Mob Psycho. This show is excellent. It doesn't really drag. I feel like it does a really good job of dealing with kind of like DanDaDan, but a little bit he's younger. He's like in middle school. DanDaDan's more like they're in high school and everything, but dealing with like a kid that is in middle school that has psychic powers, and he's like extremely strong, but he has suppressed all of his emotions to not let his psychic powers get out of hand, because there was an incident when he was younger, so he's always been like suppressing his emotions so that doesn't get out of hand. And he gets to the point where he wants to learn more about his psychic powers, so he starts and working with a psychic locally named Reagan, and he is a total fraud. He doesn't know anything, he can't see spirits, he can't do anything, so he uses Mob all the time to exercise spirits and do all of these things, but like he's always like, oh, I'm so powerful I can't see them, or if I did something it would blow the block away or whatever. So it's all of these things, and there's a great cast of characters. The voice acting is great. Highly recommend. 3 seasons, they're super quick, and if you like One Punch Man, it's the same creator of One Punch Man that did Mob Psycho. And I feel like because Mob Psycho is done and you like One Punch Man, you will definitely enjoy Mob Psycho. Same kind of humor, same kind of situations, same art style as well. And there's quite a few references to One Punch Man. They might be small, but there are throughout the season and everything. And the voice of the American version of Madara is also in the show. He's the voice of Dimple in this. So yeah. I love Mob Psycho.
Good. I'll watch it in 2025.
There you go. Derek, it is time for the Kage Summit. Each and every episode we do, we bring a topic and we discuss it. This is kind of our big one, which we kind of just had a big one, I feel like, with top animes and everything. But Crunchyroll is reportedly scrambling as the anime industry finds new leads stateside. This is a big report that came out literally like 3 days ago. And I sent this to Derek and I was like, I think this is the Kage Summit for this episode because we all watch Crunchyroll. I feel like anyone that watches an anime does have some sort of Crunchyroll access if it's the free version or whatever. And then to come to find out, Derek, Netflix is actually the top anime place in the US, the go-to.
And it's because of mismanagement at the top, man. Like it's like I told you before the show, it's like this is like Ubisoft, Tencent, Activision Blizzard to kind of cross it over into the gaming world of just like mishandling, like mistreatment, and what have you. And now Netflix has gone its steam, like, and obviously Netflix will never, I feel comfortable saying this, will never go away. But I feel like after its initial, like, once the streaming wars came and went, I feel like Netflix was just like stagnant. Like no one like talked about it. Like it was one of those like everyone had it, but like it wasn't like
making waves,
especially once they got away from their original content. Like once House of Cards and all like the Marvel Netflix shows went away, like people not really like you really had no reason to go to Netflix other than you already had a subscription to it. You know what I mean? Like Netflix never gave you a place to go there except for like maybe one-offs or like documentaries that was just like a one shot thing. And now that they're kind of getting in the anime game, they're kind of garnering that steam back. And I feel like Crunchyroll definitely gave a lot of leeway to lost a lot of ground to Netflix in that regard. Because I know you were I'll give you your credit, you were kind of like ahead of this. It's like I feel like Netflix has the ability to, and I was just like, they do, but also it's like because like other anime streaming sites are on there. I don't know if it'll overtake Crunchyroll fully, but now because of this and Crunchyroll can't get out of their own way, it feels like I feel like Netflix has full authority now to basically like, hey, this is where we come to watch anime. Like you even said it earlier, like because when we were not even watching it, like just talking about DanDaDan, you're like, oh, it's on Crunchyroll too. I'm like, yeah, it's like simulcasting, like both in English and Japanese on both Netflix and Crunchyroll. And you're like, oh, I've been watching on Netflix. I didn't know this. They kind of touted it because the way it was marketed, and I feel like that there's been rumors. I don't know how much I buy into it. Like part of what is hurting Crunchyroll as well is because apparently like there's a whole marketing mishap with DanDaDan that led to it that Crunchyroll is getting like a lawsuit over. Maybe I don't know. There's not been much traction with it, but I know that has a part to do with it. But I think like the marketing pushed more toward Netflix like as the place to watch DanDaDan instead of Crunchyroll in some aspects. So I feel like you're right on that, the fact that Netflix could come back with a vengeance. Like, hey, this is the golden. If you want to watch the golden age of anime, come to us. Like, of course, Crunchyroll will still have its exclusives, but now they have to be careful. It's like, look, they have to give reasons to get people to stay on their platform.
Yeah, and like a lot of this is because just like video games, like we talk about each and every week on NerdCave News, it's this Crunchyroll, like when it was by itself before Sony bought it, like was kind of this underdog. They were scrappy. They were able to move quickly and get shows on there. And then Sony bought them, and Sony already owned Funimation, and it was kind of like competing interests. And then it started getting bigger. It started doing these things, but it hasn't grown the way it should. Like the app still sucks. The the mobile player, like any, like you go
Mhm.
on there, it feels like it's 10 years old,
Yeah.
and they've removed features like comments. They've done all these things, but dude, there's times where I'm watching a show and it's like the skip button will just disappear for 4 or 5 episodes and then show back up. Like,
Right.
it's just random stuff like that. And it's like, okay, you should have this basic feature down. You should
Correct.
have these things down.
Because
And
they were the first to introduce that.
yeah, it's like you should have this down. But Netflix, to Amy's point, is Netflix is definitely expanding their anime catalog and is making it available to people who might not have watched it before. And that's huge, because when you're on Netflix, you're scrolling and you're like, oh well, I used to watch Sailor Moon, I used to watch Dragon Ball Z on
Mhm.
Toonami or whatever, and then it's like, oh well, I can watch that here, and then you just start watching it.
And, like, in some things, like, because I was scrolling Netflix, this was, like, maybe a month or so ago. I was scrolling on Netflix, like, and they have, like, some stuff that they have dubs of stuff that is only a subbed on Crunchyroll. So it's like they're
Hmm.
not just offering more, they're offering more, like, a variety of, like, "Hey, you like English dub anime? You can watch this," and, like, you don't have Crunchyroll and you can't get it here, you can get it on Netflix type thing. So
Yeah.
you like, 100%, like, they are gaining more traction. The only thing I will say that I don't like, because we've seen it a couple times, like I know you said Evangelion did it, and I know Vinland Saga did it, and that's like have different English voice cast for like the Crunchyroll side, and I get it, contracts and
Licenses and
yeah,
all that
licenses,
kind of
all that.
stuff.
I get that, but it's like, can't we just get to a unified, like if there, and I get with like the voice actors union, like with all the AI stuff, I know that's caused a lot of rifts with companies and agencies, like who's comfortable doing this and not, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, can we just unify and just make one voice cast system? Like,
Yeah.
just license it out and then just get the rights to it and basically just copy and paste into your streaming service instead of having to get a whole new cast and edit it.
To redo it all. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a waste of time and money, when
correct.
you could unify everything. It's like we don't want the ocean dub of
No,
Dragon Ball Z.
or the Bang Zoom.
Yeah, and it's like you look at this, and like the only place you can watch Naruto dubbed, like Shippuden dubbed, is Hulu. That is the
Yeah,
only place that you can watch it.
Bleach is the same one too.
Yeah, and it's like Hulu is there. Max has some
Mhm.
anime. Disney Plus is getting some anime as well.
Yeah,
So everybody's kind of playing around with it. But then you've got, in this report, it does say that Girdman, which is like one of the higher ups, put out an order to halt its promotion altogether of DanDaDan because they
yeah.
didn't get rights to, like, full
Mm,
rights to
mm,
put out DanDaDan. And it's like, and that's why, goes back to what you were saying. It was like, I didn't even know it was on
yeah,
Crunchyroll. And
yeah,
I watch Daima on Crunchyroll every week at the
yeah,
same time, and no, there was no promotion for DanDaDan,
yeah.
but there was promotion of Daima. But and I think one of the big ones, especially like during COVID and everything, was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that was on
Correct,
Netflix, and that's
correct.
the thing that blew it up. But my question to you, Derek, as we kind
Mhm,
of wrap Kage Summit up here,
mhm.
do you think that Crunchyroll will change in 2025, or do you think that we will see continually mistakes because of higher ups?
Mm. I feel like because of this mishap, like with the mishap with DanDaDan, and because they know they're losing it, I feel like, because they were the top dog in streaming service, like even before they got serious in the dub game, when they merged with Funimation, they were the top dog for anything, because they used to tout all the times like, oh, watch episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan, and it's like they were, like you said, scrappy, and they were kings of the world. Now they got fat and happy. I feel like it's definitely different than video games, because yes, with because we kind of alluded to it before the show, developing studios and streaming services are two different things. I feel like they
Mm,
will right the ship, but I don't think it'll happen all overnight in 2025. I think you'll start to see them start to turn the corner, but I don't think they will continue to make more mistakes. Now, if this was like I said, I used Mappa as an example in our discussion, right? like a studio that like Mappa, like yes, there were some turmoils over the production of Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 that led to it almost being delayed. It didn't. It forced it out, but you could kind of see that there was animation quality dips because of it. So if it
Mhm.
was like that type of thing, I would feel differently. But because it's a streaming service, I feel like they will get their stuff together, turn it around starting next year. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to make mishaps. But again, it's like someone's got to have the gumption to stand up and say, hey, we're going to lose to the big N, the red N, if we don't get our stuff in order. Like, we need to do this now. So, because
Yeah.
no one wants to, because again, while Netflix, and again, we haven't talked about this in ages, like like their earnings and everything like that. But I remember us talking about like how much money Netflix lost several years ago, compared to like with the subscribers and whatnot. But still, when Netflix writes a check, people will flock to it, because they don't have an unlimited budget, but they have a bigger budget than most streaming services, so they can't afford to have any more mishaps with Crunchyroll, like especially if Netflix is getting serious about their anime catalog. So they
Yeah.
can't. So they need to right the ship now, like today, you type thing. But again, I think we'll start to see a slow turn in 2025, but it won't be a massive change overnight.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of, put the end cap here for me, Netflix is doubling down on animation, and
Correct.
that is, Arcane. They've got their own ones out there,
Hmm.
Ragnarok as well is on there. So there's Netflix is really going full force in that. And I looked this up. Netflix revenue in the third quarter of 2024 was nearly $9.8 billion, a 15% increase from the
Wow.
same quarter in 2023. So the annual revenue is projected to be 39 billion, 15% up from 2023. So that
Wow.
is huge for
Correct.
Netflix. And I know it is a lot of it is due to the things that they're offering, because they're like, okay, we don't have Stranger Things coming out every year right now.
Correct.
They're focusing on some more documentaries, but the things that's really moving Netflix at the moment is their animation side of things,
Hmm.
being Arcane, being DanDaDan, different things like
Hmm.
that. And for me, I think Crunchyroll has to understand that they are in a competition. They cannot just rest on their 5 gallon bucket.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like they've got to get out there. They've got to make decisions that will be positive. It's just not just positive for the bottom line,
Hmm.
it's also like the decisions you make can help your bottom line.
Yeah.
Promoting DanDaDan, like I probably would have watched DanDaDan on Crunchyroll instead of Netflix if I would have known it was there.
Correct.
Because I had to literally like I would go on lunch and I would watch DanDaDan, and then I would go over to Crunchyroll and then watch Daima.
Hmm.
It's like if I could just watch it on one app, I would have done that.
Yeah.
So I think they need to up their game and figure their stuff out and make some changes up in the hierarchy so they have people that can actually manage their portfolio, because the Japanese market, they love competition. They
Yes.
they are they are not about monopolies. They are all about competition. And if Crunchyroll is going to fumble the ball, they're going to go to other places, and that's what we're seeing right now. So, and Amy has a good point. Having all these licenses being split everywhere is super annoying, because
Yeah.
I would just love to watch
Everything
Naruto.
on one thing.
Yeah, I would love to watch Naruto Shippuden with Amy, but she won't watch the Japanese version, and I'm not getting Hulu at this point. So,
Yeah.
Derek, let's talk about upcoming anime for 2025. I know you are over on this side of things. So, Derek, tell me, what are some big stuff that we can look forward to in 2025?
Well, obviously, like I alluded to, in just over a week, or just about a week from now, we will be getting Solo Leveling season 2. It's subtitled "Arise from the Shadow." That is going to be January 4th. After that, obviously, we're going to get a. I don't know if it's a continuation or just the dub version of Daima. But that's going to start January 10th. At least it says the dub airtime is going to be January 10th. I don't know if it's going to continue the season or just going to start putting out the English dub. But regardless, Daima will be continuing in a few weeks. Other than that, we're going to get this. I know it's been on break for a couple of weeks, but they're going to continue with the next arc of ReZero season 3, and that's going to start February 5th. That's going to be a little bit of a more of a gap, but that will be coming. New episodes will be coming February 5th for that one. Also, January 10th will be the Apothecary Diaries season 2. I've heard a lot about season 1. It sounds intriguing, but I got to make time to watch it. But season 2 will be coming for those interested. Another one I'm looking forward to, me personally, is Doctor Stone. The final season. It's going to be split into 3 different cores. To spread it out to tell like the rest of the show. But Science Future, it's airing because I thought I read somewhere it's not going to premiere till April, but apparently it's airing. The first core is going to air sooner than I anticipated, and that's going to be January 9th, just a few days after Solo Leveling season 2. So I'm looking forward to that. And then of course the next core of Shangri-La season 2 is going to continue. It's continuing every Sunday, like clockwork. So it's going to continue. Like they did a 25 episode first season, so can expect to continue to another like 20 plus episodes for this season. Others to take a look at, for me, of course, I alluded to it. Starting in a few weeks here in January, the next arc of Blue Exorcist, the Blue Knight saga, which I'm excited for, learning more about that backstory. Other than that, where was that? There's one that talked about like I feel like it's going to be a hidden gem. I think it's going to be more of like a romance slice of life anime. It's going to be Honey Lemon Soda. And I've heard some people talk about recently because it's got an anime adaptation. That's going to start January 8th for that airtime. There was another one in here that I wanted to highlight, but now, I haven't watched it, but again, it's another show that I've heard people like really like hype up. It's already got 2 seasons out, and I guess this is like the next arc. It's going to be Link Click the Bryden arc. It's a manhwa, sort of like Solo Leveling. It's a Chinese manga that's coming, to animated form. So Link Click, I need to check out. But the next season of that is going to be. It's actually going to be. I think I don't know if it's already started, but it says on Thursdays, so it might have already started already. But keep a lookout for that. And I think that's pretty much it for the winter season 2025. Yeah, pretty much that. I feel like there was one more, but if I find it, I'll interrupt. I'll interject. But yeah, like
Okay.
so. But yeah, that's the things to keep an eye out for the winter season 2025.
So most anticipated anime, just kind of a quick list. I know we're
Mhm,
getting new season of DanDaDan.
mhm.
We're getting new season of Solo Leveling, like you said,
New
and we're
season of
getting
Kaiju number 8.
Kaiju number 8, season 3 of Spy Family will be
Yes.
coming out as well. So we're gonna be eating pretty good this year,
Not
and
not to mention the final season of My Hero Academia. Not to mention the final arc, the Infinity Castle saga for Demon Slayer.
yep, and I'm curious how all of that is going to play out,
Yeah,
story wise, and also how they're going to release everything. If we're getting like one movie and then next year another movie, or however they're going to
yeah.
do all of that, we don't know yet. But I am really, really excited for those. Is there anything else you're excited for, Derek?
Again, like we're getting the next arc of Blue Exorcist, but then, like I said, season 5 of Black Butler is airing next year as well. And I feel like there's some other anime that they've select. Oh, new season. I think the first arc is gonna be airing in April, but they're doing the final season of Fire Force, which is really good as well. I
Mm,
know we talked about it. I
yep.
know there's some stuff like that I've told you that you won't like, but again, thinking about it now, I feel like if you stomach through DanDaDan, I feel like you could stomach through Fire Force now, because it is pretty much tamer than what DanDaDan brought to the table.
Okay.
So I feel like that if you stomach through DanDaDan, like the weirdness of it, I feel like you could stomach through Fire Force as well. But the final season of that is going to start in April. Can't wait, and maybe that's why I got it confused with Doctor Stone. But still, can't wait to see that as well, because season 2 didn't like, it came out like 2020, 2021, somewhere like, so it's been a while since we've seen anything Fire Force related. So I'm excited that it's coming back.
Dope. Well, guys, those are all of the most anticipated ones. Quick announcement: January, and Derek kind of alluded to this earlier. January, our Fable watch along is going to be My Hero Academia season 7. So we're going to be watching that together over on our Fable book club. You can download the app, register, and all of that if you haven't already done so, and then you can look up Eat Sleep Anime and find us there. We're going to be watching that, and I'm really, really excited for it. Derek's actually going to be joining us over on Fable, and we're going to have a good time there discussing each and every episode as we go through them. I'm actually going to restart the season as well, so I can just watch all the way through and give my thoughts and all of that. And next year, we're going to be doing 4 episodes, of course, again, one each quarter, and it will be a non-Patreon exclusive.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we're going to be putting out these episodes for everyone to enjoy. So we'll be doing these each quarter. We'll be doing them live, of course, and we'll be doing them over on our YouTube channel. So I'm super, super excited for that. We will be doing some extra content throughout. Like, we're going to be reviewing each show that we do on Fable. And we will also have some exclusive stuff that will still be over on Patreon. For all the people that have supported us, but we want to thank everyone for supporting us here over on Patreon. Thank you. And I'm excited that we've got 1 year down. This was something that we really wanted to do. And a lot of people, like, our anime content has done so well over on YouTube. So it's like, okay, we want to give more people the opportunity to watch and be a part of this show, and just enjoy the time together. So, guys, we hope that you enjoyed it and everything. This has been Zach
and Derek.
Y'all have a merry, happy Hanukkah, New Year. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.